Hey everybody, welcome on in to Sports Live in the 215. Today we'll discuss the Eagles' 22-16 victory against the Carolina Panthers last Sunday, a couple days ago. So I want to start off by saying congratulations to Saquon Barkley breaking the Eagles' single season rushing record for a running back, especially doing it in just 14 games. That's absolutely incredible. And he deserves all of the accolades that he gets. Hold on, let me make sure my light is on. Um, 1 second. And like oh, like many people that have covered the team this year have said, I'm running out of words to really describe um, how dominant Saquon Barkley really has been this year. This is by far the most dominant season I've seen by a running back since LaShawn McCoy in 2013. He's just been incredible, and Eric Dickerson better watch out because 2-6 in Midnight Green is coming for his record. Um, time will tell whether he gets it, but we uh we we will see. And it's gonna be exciting these last few games to see how Saquon performs. If you're playing against Saquon Barkley in fantasy, all I can say is I'm praying for your fantasy team in the playoffs, because that would not be an easy time. But if Saquon Barkley's on your team, then well, you got a real chance to go far. So, um, yeah. Anyway, getting a little more macro on this game, I thought it was a really sloppy win. The the guys just really did not seem to care. In the first half, they were kind of going through the motions, um, and and if I'm being real, like sometimes that might happen against a team that you should beat. It shouldn't it shouldn't happen, but sometimes it's going to. So I think you got to live with it, but it still should not happen under any circumstance. However, it did, and we'll certainly live with it. So, um, with with that being said, I thought Jalen, I thought he was just a little off sync despite throwing 2 touchdowns. He did only throw for, I believe, 108 yards. Yeah, so I just thought he wasn't his sharpest, but he helped get it done. And um uh Cooper DeJean had his welcome to the NFL moment. He really had his first kind of a rookie sort of moment with Adam Thielen, which is not an easy cover. Even though Thielen's 34, and maybe he lost a little bit of a step, um, but he's still a productive player, still a good player, and Coop's just got to kind of buckle his chin strap next week, and remember that, yeah, I am a really good player. Um, and I think games like this are gonna happen to rookies because they don't have this is their first time playing in the NFL, obviously. So they're going to have some hiccups, and I believe that's what happened to Coop this past Sunday. One of the reports after the game was that AJ and Jalen are having problems. That was first spouted by Eagles defensive end and legend Brandon Graham. Which BG, what are you doing? And then later in the day, he walked back his comments. Da da da. Like he could have literally said nothing, and this would not even be a story. Now you have Nick Sirianni, um, coming on WIP, coming on the WIP morning show with Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie saying, "Look, these guys have lunch together every day. They pray together before the games." So there's really no telling if there is a rift, and however, if there is, they need to figure that shit out quick because we need those two guys to be locked in, and yeah, um, for some reason, the Jalen and AJ connection just hasn't been as sharp as we've seen it over the past couple years. In just like the past couple weeks, but whatever it is, we really need them to kind of put it aside, squash the beef, if they have any, that is. But you don't know, you're not them, you're not in the locker room, so it's difficult to tell. I get that. And Nick is if Nick says there's no beef, I'm inclined to believe him, but I I'm inclined to believe him. Let me leave it at that. I thought the defense had some sloppy moments. Avonte Maddox, I believe he came in for Coop on a couple plays. He did not look good, and maybe this is kind of like the last year of the Avonte Maddox experience. He's just not having a good year, and maybe like them drafting his replacement in effect just like shot his confidence down the tubes. What like one of the things that always frustrated me, and don't get me wrong, I like that he's physical, but that his physicality, like because of his frame, it never allowed him to stay healthy. If he stayed healthy, I believe he's a really productive player, and yeah, unfortunately, after this year, like the Eagles will obviously keep Coop where he is at that slot corner um, position, and Avonte will need to find another job with one of the other 31 clubs in the National Football League. So that's that, and yeah, I thought the D line got decent enough pressure, but they couldn't close in and wrap up Bryce Young. I mean, I know he's very elusive, and yeah, I'll be the first to admit maybe I did count out the Carolina offense when I said the score was going to be 42-10. I mean, if Bryce Young gets like a number one receiver in the draft, look out, the rest of the NFL, because that offense is on the rise, and they're gonna be coming for some people next year. Now there are some questions on defense. Obviously, how are they going to replace the production left behind by Charles Harris, and I believe Jadeveon Clowney is also on a 1-year contract. My brother made the joke this week leading into the Eagles Carolina Panthers game that like he still can't decide if Jadeveon Clowney is good at football, which or good for the NFL level, I should say, which is fair because he was the number one overall pick back in 2014. Jesus, I can't believe that was 10 years ago. But anyway, number one overall pick back in 2014. Spent a few years with the Texans, and then after that, kind of bounced around the league. He was in Seattle. He basically ruined Carson Wentz's career. That hit, and combined with the Eagles drafting Jalen Hurts, just kind of seemed to ruin Carson Wentz's career. So thanks for that, Clowney. We appreciate it. You dirtbag. But yeah, like he's had a nice career. Like anybody who's had a 5-year and above career in the National Football League, really professional sports, they've had a solid career, but there are just certain players where it's like, are you good? Like, I really don't know. And Jadeveon Clowney is one of those guys. Like he could have, like I legitimately believe he could have a 10 sack season and a half a sack season. Like it's just all right. Maybe not that dramatic. Maybe 10 and a half and 3.5 or something like that. But you get my point. It's like the variance that you get from Clowney on a year-to-year basis. It's extremely frustrating for whatever team he plays for. Like you get the really good seasons and you're like, repeat that, and then he just doesn't, and it's extremely frustrating. Yeah, I feel for every single fan base that has kind of watched that guy play football. And in Philadelphia, I'm sure we've had our share of players that have kind of had that distinction. Like, I'm not sure whether you're good. Like, they show flashes of brilliance, but it's like keep doing that for like a 2-year, 3-year stretch, and they just can't. I'm trying to think of an example of a Philadelphia athlete that would do that. But I can't, like, right off the top of my head. But anyway, that drop by that drop by Leggett on the I want to say it was the 4th down by Carolina. If he doesn't drop that ball, it's a touchdown, and we're probably talking about a Panthers win unless Jalen can lead the team down to get into Jake Elliott field goal range, which this year is not always the most automatic, but I do feel like it's just a down year for Jake, and he'll be fine. He'll be back next. Like he'll be back to form next year. Like I believe that. I know the coaches believe that, and it's time for more of the fan base to believe that. This is one down year for a guy in his seventh season. His seventh season. For reference, in his rookie year, I was a sophomore in high school. So that should tell you um, all you need to know right now. This would have been my second to last semester of college, but I withdrew. That's a point that's neither here nor there. But anyway, yeah, I'm a senior in college, and having a kicker who's had one down year in 7 seasons is pretty good, and I do believe that Jake he'll return to form next year, and it'll be like this year never even happened.
What's up, man? Can I hop in with you?
Yeah.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, everybody. You remember this guy? This is my brother Tommy.
Here, I hop in on this. All right. We're at the games. Where were we at talking? I don't want to go on any points that you already made.
I was just talking about Jake Elliott.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Was he 0 for 6 on 50+ yarders this year?
I believe it's 0 for 5.
Already corrected me. I mean, still, dude, that's from one of the best long leg kickers in the game up to this point in his career, right? I mean, I got to ask you, do you think it's cause for concern?
All
right. Should the Eagles try out new kickers?
No.
No?
I believe he'll return to form, and he's actually perfect when kicking field goals in the playoffs.
But this year's been an anomaly for him.
Yeah.
And every other year up to this point, he's been great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my worry, right? I mean, hopefully he comes around and gets that clutch gene back. I mean, you've kind of seen it with Justin Tucker in Baltimore. Like, he's kind of fallen off a bit. But, with Jake Elliott, like, I don't want to get to the point where in the NFC Championship or in the Super Bowl and he's up for a big-time kick and we got to be worrying about it and not trusting his leg, So I don't know how I fully feel about it to this point. I mean, he has given us no reason but to trust him and to think he's one of the best kickers in the game up until this point. But now I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just mentioning before you came in that I do believe that Jake will return to form, and this one bad season isn't necessarily cause for concern for me.
Okay, yeah, I like it.
Hold on.
Get out here.
Thank you.
Not messing yourself up here.
Oh my god. Yeah. Another thing I touched on was the defense, and I thought they struggled despite giving up only 16 points. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think it's also worth mentioning how Carolina has kind of turned their season around, at least offensively.
Yeah.
Their past 5 or 6 games have been in some really close games. So they're definitely turning around. Bryce Young is starting to find his form. He was very fun to watch yesterday. Yeah. He kind of looked like he looked much more comfortable, a much different comfort level than was maybe in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and definitely last season.
Yeah.
That's a really good Eagles defense. I don't think. I mean, any game you can come out and they can just game plan possibly better than you. I don't know if it's a big Fangio, but it's a game to game basis, right? They can just look at the film a different way than the Eagles did and found something that worked. So no, I don't think it's a cause for concern. I think overall they played pretty well. They held up at the end. Obviously, there were some penalties, and it got a little ugly that last drive when they were driving. But I think all season, I wasn't during that final drive. I wasn't too stressed because I think all season, and Vic Fangio said this before he came to the Eagles. his schematic philosophy is our bend but don't break defense.
Yeah.
And I think they've held true to that all year.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of times when teams get into our zone or even down to the 30, even in our red zone, and we just hold tough. And we force a turnover or just force field goals. And when we can, on offense, turn those 3 points into 6 points more often. So I think they kind of play off each other a lot more. And the offense wasn't controlling the ball either. So the defense was on the field, it seemed, a lot of the time as well. So I don't think it's cause for concern, personally, based off the Panthers and based off what we've shown. Honestly, what the Eagles showed in that game, I think that defense still played well.
Me too. And another thing I touched on was the AJ Jalen Whittle spat. Where do you kind of stand on the whole thing?
I think it's Philly media, right? Everything gets blown out of proportion. There's probably some truth to it, right? The Brandon Graham thing was obviously weird. Him saying that a leader in the locker room, right? But there's personal stuff going on, and it's business too. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
One thing a lot has been going viral the last day with McNabb and T.O. been talking back and forth about it. And one thing T.O. said, and Freddie Mitchell said, going into the Super Bowl, T.O. and McNabb were not on good terms.
Yeah.
Right, but you're going to get your best player the ball inside the lines.
Yeah.
And you have to, all personal stuff aside. So obviously nobody knows what's going on inside besides them. So it's kind of not very fair to speculate. Nick Sirianni earlier on WIP said they still have lunch every day. They're still talking over the game plan and everything. So from that perspective, I mean, and they're going to come out and prove it. But I will say, Jalen very clearly, I don't know if he felt comfortable with not throwing to A.J. Brown on some plays, but from the crowd view, I'm playing quarterback in college.
Yeah.
I'm looking, and you can see that Jalen's looking at A.J. Brown, specifically that second play of the game. And I know it was a touchdown, but the A.J. Brown was wide open on that touchdown too.
Yeah.
And he basically threw it over his head to throw to Grant.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't know if it's being done on purpose. Obviously, it's a super fast game, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't have time to really sit there and, all right, where's AJ going on this play?
Yeah.
So it's not too cause for concern, I think. But when you have a top 3 receiver in the NFL, he needs to be getting 8 to 10 targets a game, minimum.
For sure.
So even if he's the only person that has a real route, they need to find ways to get him the ball, and that was unacceptable. I think gameplay wise from them too. A lot of people think Hurts played well. I personally didn't love the way he played. I think he looked a little scared at times. Not scared. That's probably the wrong word. He was indecisive.
Tentative?
Yeah, tentative, indecisive. He wasn't trusting his reads, trusting his throws. He looked to have his eyes in the right spot a couple times, and he just didn't pull the trigger. So I kind of wonder what he saw, what that was, but obviously it's all speculation. We don't really know. So
yeah. I think the whole Jalen and AJ thing, there could be some truth to it, but if there is, they need to sit down and talk.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't really help to speculate, and obviously everyone's going crazy with it right now, but they'll show up. They have to. Right?
Yeah,
that's the way I think of it.
And his response to the media, when he said passing, I don't believe he was talking about Jalen.
I never took it, but obviously Jalen is a quarterback. He's the one that throws the ball. So yes, passing is with him, but it's also Kellen Moore. It's also the offensive line. It's also all the receivers and how they run their routes, right? So he didn't say the quarterback's not going to be the ball.
Yeah.
He said the passing game is not working, which is not. The past couple games, it's been an average under 100 yards a game, right? So which is terrible.
Yeah.
So yes, the passing game is not where it has to be. I didn't find any problems with his comments. The only thing I thought was weird was Brandon Graham afterwards.
Yeah, and of course I believe we're driving in. We're driving in yesterday or Monday after the game, and of course Joe DeCamera had to kind of blow it out of proportion. That's
our job, though.
Yeah. Which is it's frustrating, but
yeah, I think they're on the up for sure.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other takeaways from the Eagles-Panthers game?
Not too much, man. It was fun. It was fun going out and talking in the K-Lot with some Eagles fans. Please check out that video. I mean, that was awesome.
rolling around the complex. That was the first episode. That was fun.
Besides that, man, it was a good time as always.
Yep. And thank you guys for all the support on the Matt Green interview, rolling around the complex, all the other content. And as always, go Birds.
Yes, sir.